welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you this matte maroon kind of fall makeup tutorial. I'm not sure what I'm calling this yet, but that sounds good. I did a smoked out kind of eyeshadow maroon liner and then a matte maroon type lip. Perfect for fall, super easy. Actually, yes, super easy. You can totally do this. I have some really good tips and tricks on how to do this. So if you want to see how to achieve this makeup look, then just keep watching. Since this is going to be more of a matte all over look, I'm using a matte primer. This is the Cover X Mattifying Primer. I still have not gone through the whole sample because I only use a teeny tiny bit. That's why I love samples. You can get probably close to 20 applications from just a sample. For foundation, I'm going to be using one of my favorites. This is the Bourjois Healthy Mix Foundation Serum, and you have to get this online. It's a European foundation, so for us in the US, it's a little bit harder to get our hands on it, but I will find where I purchased this and link it down below. I use the shade Light Beige, and I use about 2 pumps, and that's good for my entire face. I am not a person who likes to really layer up my foundation. I just prefer to go in with a light layer of foundation, and then any problem areas I have, I'll use concealer. I find that that looks a lot better and less makeup-y, if you know what I mean. But what I like to do as well is set my whole face with a powder foundation, which you'll see later, and that adds a little extra coverage as well. So next I'll use my Tarte Shape Tape. I use the shade Light Sand, which is pretty light, but I really like a bright under eye. There's really no right or wrong, I would say. The only wrong would be if you got something too dark. So I take my Real Techniques sponge and blend this all in here. I use whatever is left and put that over my entire eyelid. Okay, to set the face, I'm going to use my Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder. This is in the shade Fair, number 5. I use this just for underneath the eyes to brighten and set down the concealer so that the concealer does not crease. Also, what it does, as you'll see when I move into my eyeshadow, it is kind of like a barrier. If you get any eyeshadow that falls down onto this area, you can then just swipe it away and it won't sink into that foundation, because if you get any fallout from eyeshadow on wet foundation, it kind of tends to really stick in there and it's really hard to get rid of. You have to reapply foundation and it's like a whole mess. To set the rest of my face, the perimeters, I'm using this Bare Minerals Powder Foundation. This is their pressed powder foundation, and this is in the shade Camel. It's a very yellow toned powder, which I'm pretty yellow toned, so it looks kind of crazy in the pan, but once you dust it over the face, it's not that intense. It just is the right tone for my skin. I need to do my brows. I'm using the L'Oreal Brow Stylist and the L'Oreal Brow Plumper. I'm going to do these quickly off camera and then we'll get into eyeshadow. Okay, so I have zoomed you in so that you can see what I'm doing with eyeshadow today. It's going to be fairly simple, and I'm actually really excited to try a new technique. But first, I want to work on the crease. And for eyeshadow today, I'm using a Morphe palette. This is the 25B palette. I believe it's called like bronze something. I'll link it down below as always. Just to set down the lid, I'm going to take this shade here. It's just a very neutral light tan color, and this will just set down that concealer that I put all over the lid to prime the eyes. It'll make the blending process a lot easier. I'm going to next take this next darkest kind of shade in the same tone and put that in the crease. It's not really going to show up too much. It's just getting us prepared to go in with darker shades. I prefer going from light to dark shades and then back down to light. I find that that gives me the most, I don't know, diffused, blended look. I'm going to take then the next darkest shade in that tone. Let me explain this a little bit. When I mean tone, there's either warm or cool. This is cool and this is warm. This leans a little more pink. This leans a little more yellow. Then this is cool, this is warm. This again leans a little more pink. This leans more yellow orange. This is cool, this is warm. Again, this leans a little more pink. This leans more orange and yellow. That's one of the reasons I really like Morphe palettes. They tend to follow that same rhythm of cool, warm, cool, warm, cool, warm, or at least in quads, different segments. You can kind of figure out how they planned out the palette. So what I mean by the next warmest is I just used this. I'm gonna skip this one because it's cool and go to this warm shade. You absolutely can mix these all. You don't have to stay in all warms or all cools. It's just what I want to do for the look today. And you can see this is a little bit deeper. I always just prefer warm shades in the crease. I just find that it complements my eyes the best, complements my skin tone the best. I think the reason for that too is my skin tone tends to be quite warm. It's definitely more yellow than it is pink, especially when I have fake tan. Normally when you fake tan, you lean a little more yellow. If you are very fair and pink undertoned, then maybe cool toned shades will work better for you. There's no right or wrong. I could go in with cool shades and there would be a very minimal difference. I'm gonna go back into the second lightest shade we used. I'm just taking that around the edges here, and then I'll go back into the first shade we started with and put that on the very edges. And that really makes it look very, very blended. That's all I'm going to do for the crease, because really the star of this look is going to be the smoked out winged liner. I do want to put something on the lid just so that it's not super, super bare. And I think what I'm going to do is just go in with this lightest matte shade. And again, this is one that leans a little bit more cool, but that's okay. It's still gonna look great. So I'm just gonna take it on my finger. Even though it's a matte shade, I find that I get more of a color payoff when I do it, and I prefer that my lids be really popping with a color. So you can see there, that just made the lid look really light and awake. Now on to the smoky winged liner. I'm going to use this shade here. It's like a maroony brownie type shade, and the trick is to use a kind of tag or any sort of card you might have that's cardstock, and just place that right here. And then that way when you kind of smoke out the shadow, it creates a nice sharp edge. I'm going to use this brush here. It's kind of flat, and I think I'll be able to get like a good line going. If you use a really fluffy brush, it won't work. So I'm gonna go into that color and then take our card and place it where you want that wing to go. I normally line it up with my lash line here and then take it up, not fully to the brow. Some people like their wing to go straight up. I like mine to go a little more out. So that's how I'm determining where to put the card. And tap off your brush. You can always go in with more, but it's really hard to take away. So you just go like this, and then I'm going onto my actual lash line, and then you get that, which is super, super cool. That one's bigger, and I actually kind of like that, so I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. And then you can kind of play here in the crease, connecting that. And see how I kind of connected this then, connected the wing up into the crease. Again, you don't have to do that. You could have just left it as liner, but I kind of wanted it to be more dramatic. Okay, I'm gonna go back in with my blending brush and go into the darkest shade here that we used in the crease, and just make sure that that's all blended here. Okay, now I want to work on the lower lash line a little bit, and I'm just going to take the shade that we used for liner and put it on an eyeliner brush like this and just really tightly go along the lower lash line right here. I am going to connect it to the wing like that. And that's as far as I'm going to bring it in. I'm not going to bring it in all the way close, just like on the top. We didn't bring it all the way in. I am going to take a clean, fluffy brush like this and just blend that all out. Make sure it's nice and diffused, not harsh. And then I'm going to take my Sephora 12 Hour Black Kohl liner and line the waterline here. I'm also going to line the top waterline as well. Ow. I'm going to apply my favorite lashes from Eileen. They look like this. I will link them down below in case you're interested in getting them. I don't know what they're called, but yeah, I'm going to apply these and be right back. Okay, eyelashes are on. Now I need to swipe away this under eye setting powder. And let's finish up the rest of the face. So I'm going to go back to an old favorite of mine for contour and bronzer, and that's the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. I'm going to first go in with this contour shade. I mean, I guess they're all technically contour shades, but this one is more cool toned, again leaning more pink, and this one is more warm toned, leaning a little more yellow. So I'm going to use this to contour and then this to bronze up the rest of the face. So for the contour, I'm using this brush from e.l.f. and I'm just going to be really precise with where I put this and very, very light handed, and then we'll blend that out with the bronzer. Before I go into the bronzer shade, I'm going to take some of the contour shade on this little brush from e.l.f. and contour my nose. Going to blend that out. You can always use whatever powder is left on your sponge as well to kind of clean up the sides and also lighten up the sides. That further slims the nose. Now, to kind of blend out this contour and add a little warmth to the skin, I'm going in with this shade that I talked about that's a little more warm toned and using my Real Techniques sculpting brush. And you do not need a lot of this powder. It's very pigmented. Just kind of swirling this over the contour, but also up a little bit more. Never taking anything below where we contoured, taking it up. And then of course I'm going to take some of that bronzer shade on the forehead. Okay, for blush, I'm using a Milani matte powder blush. This is in the shade Romantic Rose number 1. I'm going to set my face with the Milani Make It Dewy setting spray. For highlight, I'm going to use this Lorac, what do they call it? I think like light source illuminators, and this is in the shade Moonlight. So just a little bit here. Even though this is a matte look, you know we can't go without highlight. Look how pigmented that is.
You joking me? Are you joking?
These highlights are so underrated. I never see people on YouTube talking about these. They're so nice. I'm also going to use this on the brow bone and inner corner. And a brush, I'm going to take this little guy and just pop a little bit here in the inner corner. Okay, last step is lips, and first to line them, I'm going to use a NYX lip liner. This is in the shade Mahogany. So it's like a deeper kind of plummy maroon shade. Okay, and for lips, I'm using 2 drugstore liquid lipsticks. I'm using the Revlon Color Stay Ultimate Liquid Lipstick, and this is in the shade Miracle Mauve. And then I'm using the NYX Lip Lingerie shade in Teddy. And I think how I'm gonna do this is just basically dot both of these on the lip. And then use my finger to blend them together. That will also ensure a really nice light thin layer of liquid lipstick, which is good. You want, when applying liquid lipsticks, to apply a thin coat because that will decrease the chance of your lips looking all crackly and flaky. I need a little more Teddy. Love, love, love. It matches the wing, which is what I wanted, so perfect. Alright you guys, this is the finished makeup look. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below anything you want. I answer all comments on my makeup videos, so do that if you have any questions or any requests for future videos. If you want to stay up to date on my future videos, then make sure to subscribe by hitting the red subscribe button next to my name. I also always put my little face right here, which if you hover over, I think only on desktop, I'm not sure if this works on iPhones or phones, I don't know. I'm not very technical, I'm sorry. But anyways, I definitely have some neat ideas for fall coming, a fall favorites video, which is like so exciting that I just love fall. So doing a fall favorites video is my cup of tea. I don't even drink tea, I like coffee, but whatever. Anyways guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!